Thank you very much, Inara. You know, these personal narratives are so powerful. As we were reading Inara, my mind went back to 2004, when my elder daughter Sarah and I arrived in Riga. And we were on a family boating trip, just my daughter and I. And the hotels in Riga was just way too expensive, so we went to a farmhouse. And as we were put in the attic, and she was on the bed, Sarah was spinning. She was looking at the stars and all that, and she turned around and she said, "Dad, maybe now you can tell me what happened between Mom and you." That's the way. Thank you for reminding me of this. And now Nathalie.
Well, thank you again. I want to give Robert a applause. Thank you so much for all of you. It's so wonderful to be here and for your powerful reading. I kept thinking of Eva Hoffman's Lost in Translation. I kept thinking about, being a journalist and the voices that you recorded. Zadie Smith wrote a piece on Liberia that was published in The Guardian. And the Soros Foundation decided that perhaps it would be an interesting project to send 10 writers to developing countries and write about education. And perhaps if they were witnessing what education would look like in the world, in these developing countries, as writers, perhaps that could help change, sort of give policymakers an insight on what we could do to change. So they've invited me to go to one of these countries, and I actually decided to go to Haiti because I'd lived there as a young girl, and the earthquake had recently happened, and I had never been back for over 20 years, and I wanted to go back. So I felt this was an opportunity. So I went, and of course I wrote the piece, but in the process I heard a lot of stories. A lot of stories from Haiti and crossing into the Dominican Republic. And when I went back, I didn't know what to do with these stories because the voices were so loud and they were so imposing, and they wanted to come out on the page. And I started writing, and I couldn't because they weren't my voices. And so what finally, I suddenly said, okay, well, let me maybe just transcribe these voices and see what comes out of it. What came out were these, what I call flash reportage. So they're not flash fiction, but flash reportages. And the book is called The Republics, and it will come out next year in 2015. So I'll start with the piece on that. It's called Last Night in San Pedro de Macorís. I told him how he made my brother eat his shit. Took his tractor, roosters, dog, and his identical drums. I told him I dreamed my brother didn't die, that he's in a hotel in Arabacoa and just left the barn. Flirted with a ghost, ate a pineapple, turned his shirt inside out so he couldn't forget last night. He once considered taking a bride, but couldn't find a theme for the wedding. He means to, but then did see the use. Some people like ideas, others like motion. Some like women, others roam. Don't apologize now, man. Just measure my bone for accuracy and tell me what time it is, I told him. There's only one ride left to the capital, one bar of soap left, one towel. That's how fiction comes to life, you unlucky fucker. Why tell the truth? I gave a man a handshake. What other way could we show our sadness? How noise turns inside of us. How much of our body is in our moaning. Hers was clean, he suddenly says. She wore her favorite shoes at night, glittering silver and red. If you see her, tell her your brother's last words were, I do not need a storm, but I need your quarters, mujer. Then added, when he reached the last block, I'll write my name here. A story is always written in the last breath, although we like to believe other drafts will come. I'm going to start with some love poem. Courtyard. Let's say you took sea salt and placed it on my lips. Let's say by midday you told me your famous lyrics aren't written by you. Let's say your heart bleeds on my hands and you say someone else's name inside. Let's say you show me your dangerous eyes, your hard smile, your other side is deep and wide. Let's say you bring me to the scent of lust and let the sun fall between our legs. Would that be enough? Or isn't love a stranger? In Search of Midnight. So, I have to say that Jerusalem and Bethlehem have always been sister cities. And by that I mean they're 10 minutes apart and they've always existed together. You know that there's a wall there. So if you're a Bethlehemite and you fall in love with a Jerusalemite, you actually can't be together. Because the Jerusalemite, if he lives in Bethlehem, he'll lose the Jerusalem ID, and the Bethlehemite is not allowed to live in Jerusalem. So this is inspired by this. In Search of Midnight. He kissed my lips at midnight. I let him. He took my blouse off. I let him. Took my bra off and touched my breast. I let him. He took my pants off. I let him. He took my underwear off and looked at me standing in this strange, dark, black and white room. I let him. A small light dimmed by the window. I took a glimpse of the city we live in, both united. Then he pronounced my name wrong, and I stopped him. Asked him if he has ever been exiled or in prison, if he has ever mailed letters to a woman he once loved but would never see again, if he thinks we can go back to a lover even if we might not love the second time. Asked him if he has ever robbed a small grocery store or stole bread from a peasant, if he's ever crossed seas, coasts, mountains, and still could not arrive. He answered, I did not pronounce my name correctly in my country, so I was tortured. I did not pronounce my name correctly at the enemy line, so I was exiled. I did not pronounce my name correctly upon arrival, so I was given new papers. You see, a heart in search of midnight is only a heart. Everything else is the same, except what the other is expecting. I'll read a few quotes from poet Andalusia. So when I went to Andalusia, there was a lot of, you'd find, just like in Ireland, you'd find a bar and then you'd find a church. In Ireland, you find, a pub and a church. Over there, you do the same. You find a bar and there would be a church, and they would also tell you that a lot of these churches once upon a time were mosques that were converted. Well, soon after I left Spain, I went to Algeria, and then when I was touring, they told me that the mosque, a lot of them, all the churches had become mosques, and I thought, how do I ever achieve peace? But this is sort of about, there's a lot of North Africans that cross into Spain, and it's about what it means to be in exile, what it is to migrate. The courtyard of Courtyard. We are strange when we're lost, his father told him. Said didn't hear the rest. He couldn't count the waves that led him across the Strait of Gibraltar. So he tore his memory, left where he came from behind, and learned to pray differently. He knelt instead of bowed. He counted stones, drew church columns, spoke any language but his own. Years later, sitting in a courtyard, he is startled by the loudness of the wind, almost like the muezzin. He feels a small fire alongside his heart and hears his father's voice. We are nothing but an image growing from our sleep. How can we explain our journey to others? He looks at the ground of the courtyard where a mosque once stood and understands what his father hadn't. Was sacred always returns. Granada sings with me. By the river Hinil, lovers sing what belonged to the water. A shoemaker sings the dream we had, his keeper, the dream he didn't. A man sings to a woman on a broken mattress, death at midday sings on the banks of the Darro. A blind thief collecting golden poplars sing, and so does the crevice of quivers in the saints flaming La Sierra. The men rehearsing the country. They know nothing stays, but when Whitman sings, they allow his voice to take them apart. While waiting for death. When I die, A map of the world will hang over my bed. The small library in Mijas, where I read Lorca for the first time, will become a cafe. The olive trees I cannot live without will be in full blossom. I will see death at a distance waiting for me, but I will not move. I will die on a train, where the view will be of white trees suspended on gray clouds. I will die in the sky, where birds will carry a stream of light on their wings. I will die in a car, where the windows will be a quilt of snow. I will die moving. As I wait, my lover will say, "You're beautiful." He will mean I miss the sea. I will say, "I don't know the word for life, but no, we must play so that it's not only about death." He asks, "Why do we grow stillness? Is it a noise we are close to, or the stones and the trees and the flies and the birds and the echo and the earth and what hides behind them insists on music?" A song will sweep by us. I will look at him. He too will be waiting, but I'm not certain for what exactly. Then I will think. Solitude knows it's where the empty space is, and death knows it should be counted while it waits. Interview with Jesus, or Edward Hopper. What message did he deliver? The universe was covered with a shawl. What color did he use, the ones nature forgot to present? What shapes fascinated you, the ones under any tower bridge? What intrigued you? An imagined body, crowded with light. What did you find unbearable? Jesus, when I lost him. Why are confessions so intriguing? They are. Why draw, paint? Because it illuminates, even when you're not looking. And St. Augustine is in my chest, unable to decide if outside he can see the spaces still undivided by me. I guess I'll end with two poems. I grew up in 4 continents. I'm not really sure I have a native tongue because I spoke different languages at home, and I think that it's kind of those mix of those 4 or 5 languages that are my native language. And people ask me all the time, "What language do you dream of?" I go, "Well, in all those languages, together, mixed together." When I moved to New York, people would ask me what accent I had, and I would say, I think French a little bit. But they're like, "No, you sound Spanish." I go, "Okay, that's fine." My parents live in Latin America now. And they'd say, "But where are you originally from?" I'd say, "Bethlehem." They're like, "Oh, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania?" And I'm like, "Not quite." So, it's always an interesting, the interaction. And quite frankly, I've seen all sorts of definitions of me. And people need to put you in these boxes. But if you come from these intersections of cultures, where really you have, I'm not religious at all, but background, you have multiple religions, or you speak different languages, or you even have different nationalities, they get confused, and so they interpret you according to where they're coming from. And this is always very interesting place to exist in, where you're always looking at the gaze of the other defining you. So, writing your memoir, I think it's such a difficult thing, and I admire anybody that decide to do it. And my agent has told me, "Start writing this memoir." Well, I don't even know where to start, because there's just sorting out history is so difficult. But anyways, this is a poem about coming from all these different places but never forgetting where you're from. Blue hours. In the blue hour, the negrita cries. I hide, not to deceive the darkness or myself. La negrita is not far from where I stand, her eyebrows, her one hand. I too am visible now, behind the tree, behind the night, behind the cry, and all I want to know is her name and ask her. Have you ever heard your heart undressing? Seen a stray dog at midnight, realize he understands this hour better than you will understand any hour? Have you ever seen yourself in every woman with your eyes, or in women with eyes more difficult than yours? Have you ever really heard your voice echoing in your nipples? She offers me tea, we end up drinking coffee, trying to reach the bottom of the cup unafraid. Now, my teeth are stained, my English failing me, my Arabic fading, my Spanish starting to make sense. We are in a finca now. Perhaps we are safe. Perhaps we desire nothing else. But I can't stop bowing in prayer 5 times a day. My country comes to me, tells me, compatriota, I will always find you, no matter what language you speak. And I will end with a note on peace. Even. Nothing is even. Even this line I'm writing. Even this line I'm waiting in. Waiting for permission to enter the country, the house, the room. Nothing is even. Not even that laws have been drawn and peace is discussed on my tables. And even if all was said to be even, I would not believe, for even I know that nothing is even. Not the trees, the flowers, not the mountains, or the shadows. Our nature is not even. So why even try to get even? Instead, let us find an even better place and call it even.
We come to the close of the formal part of this event today. And it's been great. From everything that Bill told us about his love and passion for literature, to Nathalie's keynote, to Inara's reading, and then Nathalie reading the very tonight. Yeah.